So it is, I don't know what today's date is, it's like January 3rd, and I wanted to make a video of all of the books, not all of the books, just books that I really liked this year. None of them, I don't think any of them really came out this year. I'm always the last one to read things, but I like watching people's like end of the year favorite book video things, so I figured I would make one and maybe you can find something that you like. I won't tell you everything about the books because that's kind of pointless, but you know, if I like it, maybe you like it too. So here we go. I'm gonna try to do this all in one take so it's not all jumpy and stuff, but I'll probably say too many times or whatever, so I'll probably, you know, cut some stuff out. Anyway, like this can be cut out right now. These aren't in any particular order, and some of the books I don't have. I'm loaning them out to people right now, and so there's notes in this one. So the first book I read I don't have. It's called A Monster Calls, and I'll put a picture here. It's I think I read this was the first thing I read this year, like in January, and it was during a really bad time. My dad died, and I couldn't really do much. I couldn't write, I couldn't really read too much. Mostly all I did was watch TV and just kind of sit there. But this book was the first book that I could, like, just put me back into the writing and reading world, and I recommend it for anybody who's ever lost anyone or has ever gone through, there's my phone, anyone who's ever gone through some kind of, you know, trauma, or someone, a loved one being sick, or, you know, even it not, just if you want to understand how it works better. It's about a little kid whose mom is sick, and this monster starts coming to visit him at night, and it's really beautiful. I think the person who wrote it actually died before they finished it, so somebody else, or it was an idea and somebody else wrote the story. It's really good. It gets me right here. I read it in a day. And the illustrations are gorgeous. Don't get the version without the illustrations because you won't get the full effect. I've seen it without illustrations. It's just not the same. So yeah, that was probably, you know, one of my favorite books of this year. And then after that, I have a list. Let me see the list. Oh, after that I read, it was this one here. I have this one. As She Climbed Across the Table. It's weird. Whenever bad things happen, the fiction I read has to be more out there. Like, I don't really read contemporary too much, but I can read it mostly. I do read it sometimes, but I feel like books are a way for me to escape, and the more unrealistic the situation is in the book, or the more fantasy or sci-fi elements there are, the more I can escape. I don't know if anybody else does that, but this one is pretty sci-fi like. It's about somebody, my creative writing professor told me to get this book like 2 years ago, and I came across it in a used bookstore. It's all, you know, mangled up and stuff, but I got it, and it's about two scientists. I think that both of them are scientists, and there's a woman scientist, and I think they're married. It's been a while since I read this. They're married, and the scientist is making a void, like a black hole, and she kind of starts to fall in love with the black hole because it chooses things that get sucked into it, and sometimes like it'll pick things to suck into it and disappear, and then it'll reject other things. And she tries to throw herself into the hole and it rejects her and she doesn't know why. And she becomes obsessed with it and she falls in love with it, and her husband is like, what the hell? And it's really good. It's kind of fun, it's kind of sad, and it's really good. The writing is beautiful, so you should definitely check this one out. After that, another book I lent out is Under the Skin. I insert the picture here. I saw the movie first. It was a indie movie with Scarlett Johansson, and I don't really know who else was in it. I know Scarlett Johansson was in it. She did an amazing job, and it's just such a beautiful, beautiful movie, and it's just like creepy, and it's I've never seen a movie like that. It just kind of makes you feel really like your skin crawling and stuff, and you're just like kind of, you don't know what's going on, and you don't know what's happening to you while you're watching it, and that's how I felt when I was reading the book too. And the book is a lot different than the movie, and it's just so awesome. Like I've never read a sci-fi book that made me think so much, and it's really good. It's about aliens, and it's the alien. The main character is a hitchhiker. It picks up hitchhikers, and you don't know why she's picking up these hitchhikers for a long time, and then you start to find out little by little what exactly she's doing with them, and it's really creepy, and the writing is gorgeous. Just every sentence I read I was just drooling, and it was really good. So if you like aliens and you like them creepy, and you're just like, I like aliens, but I hate aliens. Aliens freak me out, but I also I'm interested in them. So it's just a love-hate thing with aliens and me. It's sometimes I can watch alien shows and read alien books, and then I go months where I'm just like, nope, don't want to know, don't want to see it, don't want to think about it. I can't look out my window at night. Like, that's the one thing that always freaks me out. But Under the Skin is definitely worth checking out, and I think I got it on Amazon for under the, like the discounted books. I got it for like $5, so it's pretty cheap too. And check out the movie too. I don't think it really matters if you read the book or watch the movie, except for the ending. The ending kind of gets ruined, but they're both way, way different, so you should definitely check out both. Alright, next, was... I can never say this guy's name. Not gonna try. So I'll just put his name there. After Dark. I've read a lot of his short stories. He has a short story called Super Frog Saves Tokyo. And again, I heard about this in creative writing class. And it's just about a frog that shows up to this guy and starts talking to him and tells him how to save it. Pretty much the title. That's what happens. And sorry, I drank a lot of tea and it's just not good. This is all about what happens between, I think it's midnight and, let me see. Well, each chapter starts out with like a clock. Yeah, it starts out at 11:56 p.m. And then it goes through an entire night. And a lot of it's like normal, and then some of it you kind of don't know what's going on, and there's some creepiness in here, and I think it's 2 or 3 different perspectives, but it's so good. It's just, I'm gonna say that about all these books, but I love the way this guy writes, and he always has these messages inserted into his books that you don't realize are there until you stop and look at it again. And I love books like that. And this is really good. I read this in about 2 days, I think, when I was dog sitting. It was really, really good. And the dogs didn't like it because I wasn't playing with them. Alright, and then, so, if anybody knows me, they know that Neil Gaiman is my favorite author of all time. But fun fact, I have not read all of Neil Gaiman's books, just because I will read a Neil Gaiman book and then I gotta take a break because I just can't I feel like I'm not a good writer after I read Neil Gaiman, and I'm just like, you know what? If I'm gonna get any work done, I have to take a break from Neil Gaiman, because if I read all of his books at once, I'm just gonna fail at life. I feel like I'm failing. So I took a little break. I went camping this summer, and I read this on the way home. Not the whole thing, obviously, but every year when we go camping, I bring a lot of books, and I read like one or two, but I just like to have options. This was one of them, and I didn't want to start it while we were camping. I found out when we got there, because I read like the first paragraph and I was like, I'm just gonna stay in the tent and read this. There's no point in driving all the way to West Virginia if I'm gonna stay in a tent the whole time. So, I started to feel car sick on the way home. Got really car sick. So I had to stop reading this, and then I picked it up the next day. I read it about a week, just because it's, I'm not the fastest reader. It's a thicker book, and there he is on the back. Oh, there he is. And it's about, like, the old gods of the world are fading, and they are trying to find people to worship them in the modern world, and there's new gods coming into the picture, like television, media, and stuff like that, and it's just about a battle of Facebook. It's a battle of, people and their beliefs, and it follows one character named Shadow, and I'm in love with this character. He's just so great. I love all of Neil Gaiman's characters though, but Shadow, he's right up there with Sandman. He's got a place in my heart. So if you like fantasy, you should definitely, check out all of Neil Gaiman, but this is really good. I actually bought this book for a bunch of people for Christmas. I went on Amazon and got the discounted books, and I bought a whole bunch of them and just gave them to people because I want them to read it. So that's that one. After that, I got this book. I've wanted this book for a while. It's A Swarm, a Flock, a Host. My sister introduced me to this artist, actually. And I'll show you some of their art. They do, I think it's all paper cutouts, if I'm not mistaken. These are all cut out of paper, black paper. And when you go through the book, there's like, when you look at it, you're just like, why would you do this to yourself? Why would you cut out branches like that in paper? But they're beautiful. And there's poems and prose in here. I'm not sure if the author and the... Yeah, I think there's an author and the artist are different, but it's beautiful, gorgeous, gorgeous. This is kind of what, it's an inspiration for a book I'm writing. These little bugs and creatures in black ink, or black paper. But my sister and I are planning on working on a collaboration where we write stories and have art for them, and they all have to do with animals or human-animal interactions. And I feel like this is something that we want to do, just like, she has some art on this side and I'll have like a poem or a flash fiction on the other. So I got this more like a, kind of like a template, just to see, and the art is beautiful. So I think I got a gift card for my birthday, and this was the first thing I bought. So yeah, if you like art and poetry, check this one out. It's really good. And you can read it in a day, and you can look at the pictures forever. Then, let's see, what else do I got? Oh, I guess I'll go to this one first. The Magician's Assistant. Gorgeous, gorgeous book. I started reading this during NaNoWriMo. It was like my reward after I wrote all my words that day. It's the person who wrote The Patron Saint of Liars. I have not read that. I bought this at their store for $1. And it's so... I don't think I've ever read a book that... it mixed kind of paranormal elements, but it was mostly contemporary. But it was so seamless, and just, you didn't question anything the whole time. You were just like, oh yeah, this happened to this person. And it was more like reading kind of a diary versus, you know, a fiction. And it was great. Sometimes I get into these reading slumps where I'm just like, you know, I kind of am aware that I'm reading a book, and I don't want to be. I want to be in the book. So this was definitely one of those books that you read it and you can't be distracted by the outside world. You're just like, yeah. It's about a magician and his assistant. The magician is a gay guy who is with a different gay guy, but you find out, has his partner has died, and the assistant is a female, and she marries the magician just because she loves him and he loves her, but they can't be together. But he wanted her to have all of his assets and things, because he's sick with the same thing that his partner was sick with. And then the whole story is kind of about how, he obviously dies. You find that out on the first page, so I don't think that's really a spoiler, but the magician dies, and the lawyer comes to her house and tells her about this secret family that he had, this whole secret life, and she ends up hanging out with these people and finding out what this guy she loved so much was all about, and she didn't know anything about him. So it's really good. And then there's these dream sequences where she sees the magician and his partner in the dreams, and they're communicating and stuff, and it's just really, it's sad but hopeful and beautiful, and I recommend it for everybody. I've been, like the Neil Gaiman book and this book, I've been telling everybody to read it. So I think this has been out for a way long time too. Let me see. Probably, I never read books when they come out because I'm always busy. 1997, yeah, this has been out a while, but it's really good. Definitely check it out. Then I read this book that I lent out, and it's called Tiger, Tiger. Insert picture. It's a memoir, and it's about this girl is with this guy who's like older, since she's 8 years old. And it's really creepy, but it's told so great that you can't really judge it while you're reading it. You kind of just read it and you go, wow, things like this happen, and it happened to this person, and she decided to write about it, and it's so brave and beautiful. I definitely, things like that interest me, that there are people that do these things and they don't see a problem with it. That the darker sides of human nature, they always interest me, and I always wonder what makes people do things. And this was definitely a book that didn't really give me too many answers, but definitely gave me a glimpse into that kind of a world. So I definitely, not for younger people to read this. It's kind of very adult. It's not graphic or anything, but you shouldn't read it if you're younger. A lot of these books are, you should look up if, the age group and stuff. But it was really good, and I loved every second of it. I think I read it in like a day or two. So that was that. Then another Neil Gaiman book. After I read American Gods, I took a little break, but I found out that one of the characters in American Gods, I'm not sure which book came first, I think American Gods came first, and then he wrote, American Gods came first, and then he wrote Anansi Boys. I never know if I'm saying it right. And it's shiny. It's about one of the characters in American Gods before American Gods happened, like all the stuff in American Gods happened, and American Gods is more serious. There's funny parts, but it's more serious, and this is more, there's definitely serious parts, but it's way funnier. There were parts of this book where I was reading it and just laughing, and it's about a guy who ends up having a secret brother that his dad never told him about, and the brother is a god, and he controls spiders. That's it. That's all I'm telling you. It's really good. It's Neil Gaiman. That's all you need to know. And then the last book that I was really excited about this year was a book I don't have in physical copy because it is not physical yet. I'm trying to convince her to make it physical. But it's a book by my friend. We've been friends for a long time, since middle school, high school. So, and she's my critique partner, like my first critique partner that I show anything to, and I finally convinced her to put a book out because she writes too, and she's a really good writer. And it's called Angry Blonde. It's about a girl named Wiley who falls in love with the wrong guy, and it's told in parts. So you have the first part is how her life is now, and then the middle is all about her childhood, and then the third part goes back to how her life is now and how it's just spirals because of this guy she falls in love with. It's good for fans of Ellen Hopkins. I always think my friend Sarah's work reminds me of Ellen Hopkins, and you should definitely check her out because more people need to know about her. I'm not just saying that because she's my friend, I'm saying that because she's a really talented writer. So those are the books I read this year. These are the books that are on my read first pile. I'm actually reading a book that people are telling me to read right now, and it's alright. It's called Debt Inheritance, I think, by Pepper Winters. I think she's really popular, but I've just heard of her, and I'm not a big erotica fan, or like I don't really read much of it because a lot of it's been done before, a lot of it's really cheesy, but I'm trying to branch out and read outside of the genres I usually read inside of, and I'm trying to read, more widely. That's one of my goals for this year. So I started with her book, and a lot of people, they seem to like her, and I think I'm halfway through it, and it's different. I'll give her that. It's very different. There's some very, adult things in there, but it's pretty good so far. I read about half of it in a day or so. So that's that. I'm also reading this frickin' book, House of Leaves. I've tried reading this book when I was in school. I borrowed it from a friend, and I had it for like 6 months, and I just didn't have time to read it, and it's such an in-depth book. It's told by different people, and it's there's like two or three stories going on at once. It's told very experimentally, like every house, the word house in here is in blue. There are footnotes and symbols. I don't know if I can get it in there. There are footnotes, and the footnotes are actually a different part of the story, like a different person talking sometimes. It's the editor telling you his story. It's really good, creepy as hell. I can't read this at night, which is usually when I read, when I have time to read. Creepy as hell. So creepy. And I don't really get creeped out too much except if it's about aliens. But this is good. It's about a guy, I haven't really read most of it, but from what I know, it's about this guy who moves into a house with his family, and he sees that like the house moves around at night, like it becomes longer and things like that. I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But it's very creepy, and there's just a lot to digest in this book, so I'm excited to dive back into it. I'm reading more than one book at once, because if I read this all at once, I think my brain would explode, because it's definitely a book that you have to think and be very attentive when you're reading, but it's very, very good. I'm only on like chapter 5 or something, but it's very good. I already got this book, Amanda Palmer. And I actually have 2 copies of this book because a really awesome fan and friend sent me a book signed by Amanda Palmer to me, with like stickers on it and stuff. It's just so awesome. Like, she went to a signing with Amanda Palmer there, and she signed a book for me. But I got one, I pre-ordered one on Books A Million. Fuck them. I ordered it as soon as I found out that this book was coming out in November. I pre-ordered it, and it never came. Like 2 months later, it didn't come. So I canceled that, and I went to the store, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna see if I can find a signed copy. And I did. Lots of signed copies in the bookstore. And BAM, the actual store, couldn't send me my pre-ordered copy. I probably just bought my pre-ordered copy in the store. But anyway, this is about Amanda Palmer. Duh. About her life, about, if you haven't seen her TED Talk, The Art of Asking, you should look it up. It's all about being an artist and how you shouldn't be afraid to ask your audience for help in promotion and paying for what you're making, and how to get people to like what you're, like, if people like what you're doing, they will pay you for it. And being an indie author, you find that out pretty quick. I mean, there are dickheads that, go and pirate your book and don't pay for it, but there are a lot of people that if they read something and they like it from you, they will buy it. And this is all about a lot of things that she says in here. I never thought anybody else felt the way I felt about. And there's just certain things in here that I have to stop, and I'm just like, wow, somebody fucking gets me and what goes on in my head. So any creative person, artist, anybody that makes things, and anybody who likes to see people that make things and wants to understand what goes on in our little minds, you need to read this. I'm trying to savor this book, so I'm not very far. I try to read like a chapter a week because I want to absorb it all. But it's very, very good. A lot of people, I was reading the Goodreads reviews, and some people don't like it. They said it's like self-indulgent and blah blah blah. I'm like, it's a book about her life. Did you not know what you were reading? It's about her life and how asking for things helped her. And I think there are other people's stories in here too about they told her like a time they wished they had asked for help and they didn't, and they regret it. So definitely read this. And then I think I have one more. Oh yeah, this little book. Again, I have a love-hate relationship with series because I think the second book in a series is always my favorite because it's, the middle of the series. I mean, if it's a trilogy, it's always like, the middle of the action, everything is still happening, there's more after, but there was stuff that came before it, so you get to read more, but there's more after it. This is the last book in this series, and this is probably my favorite YA series. I'm pretty sure it's YA. Michelle Hodkin is a beautiful person, and she says happy birthday to me every year on my Facebook, and she doesn't even know me, but I think she's an awesome author, and she writes YA for smart people. I mean, YA is for kids and teenagers, but I find that a lot of times when I read YA, it's dumbed down and the language is flat, and it just makes me mad because I feel like these publishers think that teenagers can't comprehend symbolism and complex sentences and sex and heavy issues, and they can. I have. A lot of people have. And this is for the YA reader that wants more. And I like YA when it does stuff like this, and when it makes you question things and all of that. Rant over. Stop ranting. Anyway, if you haven't read it for the first one, it's about this girl who meets a guy. The first book I kind of had trouble getting into because it reminded me a little bit of Twilight, but I mean, I can't blame her. It's probably what got her picked up because, besides the fact that it's an amazing, amazing story, but a lot of people compare. I mean, a lot of books that came out around that time have I saw this guy, blah, 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 but it's different because the guy is way cool, and he has a British accent, so, you know, it's pretty good. And she's just like, she thinks she's crazy. She has to move because she was in an abandoned building and it just came down and killed all of her friends, and she was the only one that survived. And then this guy or somebody leaves like notes, and weird shit happens to her. She starts hallucinating. She doesn't know what's real and what's fake and what's past life memory and all of these things. The second book ended on a freaking cliffhanger. I haven't started yet because I'm sad. I don't want it to end. So those are the books I'm reading right now. Alright, I think that is it. Oh, and I'm reading another book that my camera is on top of. But that doesn't matter, you can't see it. So yeah, I hope this is entertaining. And I hope you found some cool reads. If you have any suggestions of things I would like to read, totally leave them down below. If you have any questions about other books, totally ask. I mean, I'm not a librarian or expert in books by any means, but I can give you my opinion if you want it. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna go. If you have any suggestions for other videos you want me to do, leave them anywhere I can see them and I will do them. Okay, bye!